Hi, Melly. Well, this isn't gonna be a good live. No, my TikTok's not banned. Yeah, it's hot today. Today is a hot day. You sound sick. Welcome back, guys. Sorry I had to do something. But, no, I'm not sick. Yeah, well, it's not gonna be alive. No, I'm not feeling good. Yeah. So, so, I kind of wrote something down because, yeah, I wanted to, hey, guys, I'm not sick like that. So, yeah, I kind of wanted to say something because it's really been bothering me, and, this isn't like a easy way to like say this, I just, it's, it's like been bothering me, and if I don't talk about it, it's gonna bother me. And I did talk to my therapist about it, because, but yeah, I don't know, no, I'm not dying. So, okay, so it says, I wrote this down so because sometimes when I say something, I'll forget. So I wrote it down so I can say this. And what I wrote down is I don't really know how to start this, so I'm going to speak from my heart. I've been holding in a lot for a while, and I think it's gotten to a point where staying quiet about it has been hurting me more than saying it out loud. I'm not trying to attack anyone. I'm not trying to create drama. I just finally need to be honest about what I've been carrying. I went through something that included sexual assault, and I haven't really been able to talk about it. And I've just been trying to act like I'm okay and move on, but it doesn't really work like that, and it stays with you. I'm sorry, you guys. So it stays with you, and on top of that, I was really emotionally hurt and confused by someone I cared a lot about. I felt like I was being led on, and that things changed in a way I didn't understand. I was left sitting with all of that on my own and trying to make sense of it. I'm not saying this to blame anyone or make anyone look bad. I'm just really speaking on how I felt for me, because I've been holding it in for so long. It's been heavy. I think sometimes people don't realize how much silence can hurt you when you are trying to protect someone else's image, but not your own feelings. So I'm just letting myself say it now, not to hurt anyone, just to stop hurting myself from keeping it inside. I'm trying to heal. That's really what this is. I don't really need people to pick sides. I just need to finally say this out loud. So, yeah, I really didn't know how to bring this to the internet without something happening, and it's been weighing on me. And yes, the stuff that I was sharing about sexual assault, yes, I was sexually assaulted. And, I tried to process, I tried to tell myself, well, you cracked the joke, so maybe, you know, like, and I just, it's been weighing on me. And you know, it's been heavy. I've been like trying to keep it in when I was like crying, when I was upset, when I was like breaking down. I couldn't really say, you know, and I can't really say much because I don't feel comfortable to say everything, you know. But that is just something that I wrote down that I needed to get off my chest to say, because I was holding it in. I was holding it in. And it's not good to hold something in. Like, I talked to people about it. I've, you know, spoke up. But it was like, I kept coming online. I kept being sad, depressed. You know, my mental health is not good. And, you know, I don't know how to process. And to say to tell the cops and not tell Instagram, I don't want to make the situation worse. Even me coming on here saying that is probably going to make it worse. And nobody knows that I was struggling like that. And it's... And I already know the comments. I just know that people are going to say, oh, that didn't happen to you, you know, and they were already saying that. And I was just like, yeah, you know, how do you speak up? How do you talk about it? And because that happened, I really hated myself. I hate myself. You know, I've been struggling to function because I was like, oh, you know, like you cracked the joke, like, oh, it's like that thought of like, oh, you wanted it, like, and you know what, some people definition of sexual assault may be different, but it's not different because it was not consented. And you know, I just tried to be the bigger person. I just didn't want, like I said, I was trying to protect someone's image because I still tried to be the bigger person, even though some nasty things were said. And it's hard because, you know, I'm a kind-hearted person and I don't want to say something rude, but there was something that no matter how, you know, and I've been crying all day. I have a headache. My health problems are getting worse. You know, I'm struggling. My stress is horrible. And I'm trying not to stress out so much, but it's been a lot. I don't even get paid for this, so goodbye, go somewhere. It's like, I'm not trying to get money from anyone. That is far from why I spoke up, so thank you. If I continue to keep holding my emotions in and harboring them, that is not good. Like, I've already talked to people. I've already talked about this. And I needed to get this out there. Like, I'm going through something. I'm hurting. And it's not okay. Like, it's not okay. Like, I don't care what people think. I don't care. But for me, I'm going to speak up for myself. There was a lot of things that recently I went through that, you know, and to be honest, just even sharing that information, you know, right now, that's all I was going to share. I'm not going to share anything else, you know. I'm trying to be as kind, a nice person as I could be with all the nasty stuff that was said. Like, for me, I just can't even imagine saying that to someone on top of everything else. And knowing that I actually went through that when I was younger, and to do that very thing, it's just, I had to be honest, I had to talk, and I had to process. And when I thought back about that moment and having to process that and realize what happened, that was hard. And I couldn't tell anyone because what do you say? Like, and I get it. I get what people are gonna say, like, the whole police thing, but I'm just already struggling enough as it is to have to process that. There was it wasn't, it's the, like, well, it was that, and it's like, well, I'm trying not to say things without blaming or anything, but I don't know, I just been really, really processing. And when I was sharing that stuff, it was just like people was already like, no, that didn't happen to you. There's something happened to you recently. Like, no. And I just kept it to myself because that really affected me. And these are the things that people don't understand. When you say something and, people already were victim shaming and, I struggled. And today was hard, and it's been a hard few weeks. Like, I do okay, I'm happy, and then I go back to that place, and I'm like, why did I allow this to happen to myself? And I start blaming myself. And it's hard when you feel like you have nobody. And I talked to my mom, and it was hard to even have to explain something like that. It was hard when there's so much going on, and I told someone, I was like, it was weighing so much on me that I said, I wish God would have taken me instead, because I don't know how to process any of this. I don't know how to deal with this, or it's like everything that I think about, and I didn't want to say anything online because I just kept it in, even though I was hurting and I was crying all the time. This is why I didn't want to go live in that time, because I was struggling to even process what was happening. And then when I did finally, I was like, well, maybe if I share this, maybe it might hint to something. And when people started victim shaming, that just said, oh, well, it's, and then I tried to go and say, like, well, write down and be like, how's the best way about going about this without blowing it up and making it a bigger thing? How can I talk about how I'm feeling without attacking someone? How can I speak about this? Because it was only eating me from the inside out. And to be honest, my health hasn't been doing good. I've been, stressing out, and that causes my constant headaches. And I'm trying not to freak out, but anytime something happens, I freak out. And I don't know, right now it hasn't been good. There were multiple situations that I had to deal with, and on top of that, just realizing that happened to me, and then finally being able to talk with my therapist about it, it was something that was hard. And it's hard to process, like, well, what led up to that is because you wanted that to happen, and trying to tell yourself that no, like that, and it's so hard to not blame yourself or beat yourself up over something that, I didn't even have time to process. It was just like the whole thing was quick. I didn't even have time to process. I was confused because of certain things. There was just so much going on, and I still don't even process the whole thing. I mean, I see it for what it is now, and I know why things happen, and it's a all around messed up situation that nobody really knows that I'm struggling with, because people could care less. And I get it. Like, I get that people hates me, but even if I hated someone, no one should have to go through what I went through. And there's still some things I'm going through that I can't even really talk about till I have my own place. And I've been struggling to sleep. I get up and I cry. I have these dreams. And sometimes my brother's alive, and that triggers that. Sometimes I'm up till like 1 o'clock in the morning, and I'm freaking out, and I'm trying to calm myself down, and it's hard. So, yeah. Well, nothing, I guess. I don't need money. I already have some stuff planned, so yeah, I have a cake being made and everything. I don't even have Benadryl, and, so yeah. Yeah, my birthday is Saturday, but I have money, so I'm not asking for money. And I don't have a lot of money, so. So, yeah. Well, I already have a cake made. I'm getting my own cake. And I'm gonna try to decorate my own cake, so. Yeah. Oh, nice. I don't know, I did have some plans, but when I had to go get my cake, that's when it's happening, so I don't know. Um, but it's not even about the money, it's just like my birthday's coming up, and now I have to process that I was sexually assaulted. That's hard. Like, how do you And I could care less about the money. Like, it, you know, like for me, I've been through so much trauma that I just desensitized myself to that. Like, in the moment, it didn't seem as bad as it was. And I just, and the whole ride home, I was just processing because it was something else on top of that that really confused me. And having to deal with my emotions, that's hard. And I could care less about money, guys. It's not about money. It was eating me inside. Like, my emotions have not been good. I was doing so good and my mental health was good. And then I just started slipping. And for 2 days, I just had to completely check out and be like, I need to sleep for 2 days. After I came home from the hospital, or after I came from the hospital, they put me on liquids. They gave me medicine for my headache medication. Basically, they called me and basically, the cause is like stress, and it's hard not to be stressed or worried or have anxiety, when something happens. And I always had to watch my back. The whole thing with the truck, it wasn't just a truck incident. Like, there were some things that had happened, and I had to take that seriously, even though I tell myself it could have just been a random incident, which yes, but at the same time, it, there was something, like I said, it was a dangerous situation at the time, and I couldn't talk about it, and the whole internet was just making things a joke. Like, when you guys say things that are untrue, you don't even know just what fuels things. And yeah, some stuff happened, and it was more than one thing, and I was trying to manage and process it, but that day it was just too much, and I had a constant headache and I couldn't deal. So I went to the hospital. They put an IV in me. They put me in fluids. They had to actually put an IV on my other arm because it wasn't putting fluid in the arm that they put the IV in, because they blew out my arm, I guess. So I don't know what they did, but what happened is that my arm swelled up. So they were like, well, it's not working, so we're going to have to do your other arm. And I was like, okay. They're like, let's hope that we get this. They had a hard time struggling. They finally got it in. They put me on some liquids. I don't even know, some fluids. They gave me some headache medication. They told me anytime that I have headaches to take medication. But I practically have headaches almost every day. I wake up because at night it's so hard to sleep that, when I wake up from a dream or something, it hurts. And I'm reminded of something, and then, like, I'm trying to change my negative thinking from positive thinking, like what I've been learning, but I just get so defeated and taken back, and with everything, it is so hard to see everything that is going on social media, with ICE and with that, with the not getting justice and the kids that are being hurt and harmed, and talking about how much kids and women are getting raped and sexually assaulted, and just having to hear all of that just triggered. And how I blamed myself, and I told myself that I was stupid, that I was blinded, that I let it happen because I really cared about the person so much that I was blinded. And I just tried to cope and process, I was like, well, let me go swimming, maybe that'll get my mind off things. And I try to function. But when I'm out there, it's hard. Sometimes I just want to break down and cry, but I'm like, oh, if someone drives by and sees me, I had to act happy, and then people come up and they ask for photos, and I'm like, hey, hi. And, yeah, I did go to that free event, but in the back of my mind, it was like, oh, please do not run into someone. And it'd be a whole thing, and, I couldn't even enjoy myself the whole time, because that was in the back of my mind. And I was suffering. And I was like, you can't cry because first of all, you have makeup on. Second of all, I already knew people was going to be, if people don't ask for photos, it's typically because people are secretly filming me. And I didn't want someone to see me just sobbing and then that be a whole thing on the internet. I just have to act happy even though I'm not. And the only reason, and I would never harm myself, but the only reason why I'm just keep going is because my mom, I'm all that my mom has. And after she goes, I've already made that decision. And I know that she's worried, that she says, I worry that if I leave, like if something happens to me, that you're gonna go. But this world is cruel. It's hateful. It's evil. And I try. I try to be a good person. And I try to share all of these things that are going on. And sometimes I just want to post happy stuff. But I feel like it's my responsibility. Like, if I stop sharing something that's important, that I'll get hate for it. And, it's too much. It's too much of processing. And seeing that and having to desensitize myself to it and be like, this shouldn't be a normal. This shouldn't be a new normal. Like, how do you process that, And so, yeah. But that's basically what I came on here to talk about. So, yeah. I mean, there's not really much I can do. I mean, well, there is, but no, that's not the case. I was actually SA'd. Like, let's not do that. I don't lie on someone like that. Please do not make up information. You was not there, so you don't know. And there's cameras, so let's not. That has nothing to do with anything. It's not because nobody is talking to me. That would be the stupidest thing to ever do. I could care less if no one's talking to me. Leslie stopped talking to me. Did I lie on her? No, I didn't. There's a lot of my friends that stopped talking to me. Did I lie on them? No, I didn't. We gotta stop victim shaming people. We gotta stop telling people things. This is why people don't come out and say anything, because then people start victim shaming and saying, oh, well, that really never happened. I had to talk with people about this. I had to have a conversation with my therapist. This literally is so crazy. I have to process this. I have to go through this. It's traumatizing enough as it is that I still have to process the loss of my brother that I watched get murdered. There are so many things that has happened to me that I haven't been able to process anything. It's one thing after another, and I don't know how to handle it. And last year I didn't know how to handle it except to try to take my life, because that's the only thing. I knew that my brain was telling me, and I would never harm myself, but it's the process of having to handle, having to deal with things, because there's always something. And this year it was going great, and then it went bad, and then it was going great, and then I thought, wow, things were really, I really don't want to be put on medications, guys. I know that medications sometimes help, but there are a lot of side effects to those medications, and I really want to be careful when taking something. For me, it's just, the world is a cruel place, and things people have said hasn't really helped, and my only thought process is to not exist at all. But like I said, I'm not gonna harm myself. I'm just slowly trying to process, and I have major depression, so I'm trying to deal with it as best as I can and manage it. And the only way to really manage it is with medication, right? And my mom, I'm the only person she has, and she's already expressed, like, don't hurt yourself, or she's worried because of this situation I've had to talk to her about, and then tell her, like, no, Mom, I'm not going to harm myself. I did in the past try to, and it's just something that I'm just trying to process. And when everyone wants to see you fall, whenever they're wishing on your downfall, that's horrible. And I'm trying to hold myself with grace. I'm trying to walk. I don't put people's names out there. I'm not trying to attack anyone, hurt anyone, harm anyone, be malicious towards anyone. And it's hard to really not, because I got really angry, and I did want to say some things, but then I just have to write it down in my journal, which is what I've been doing, is journaling, and just write my thoughts out, and before I say something that I will regret. And it was that and it wasn't even just that, it was the process of, like, oh, even though I didn't do anything, would this person forgive me? And I did tell myself that I wish I went before them. So if something happened to them, because we're all gonna die, we don't live forever. And I know that they went mad at me and they didn't forgive me. That I couldn't live with myself. And I know when someone does something so horrible, you shouldn't be kind to them. But I still want to be kind, even though I was hurt. And it's hard because, people are like, oh, and I don't think it's jokes when someone's like, someone turned me evil because of how they treated me. And, I said, like, I wanted to be evil and say things, but it's just not in me to do that. It's just not in me. I have to sit here and be like, I forgive you, even though it's eating me up inside. And I'm trying to take my health problems seriously, and I don't want to end up like that girl in the hospital because I was stressing out too much and had a stroke. Like, constant headaches could be a sign of a stroke. and I'm trying to manage my health problems, but I didn't want to go to the hospital because I was worried if someone saw me, they would take pictures and then they would say, look, she's at the hospital for attention because now, she posted some things online, and anytime something happens, she goes to the hospital for attention. But I was really struggling, and for 2 days I just slept and I cried and I cried and I cried and I tried to process, and I kept asking myself, why me? And I didn't know. I don't really know how to function. I don't really know. I don't, I try. The things that I'm learning in therapy to try to help change my thinking and stuff doesn't really work, because then I go back, I see places, and then I start crying, because it reminds me of a time when I wasn't hurting, and I was happy, and then I remember that I don't have anybody, and that I'm going to be alone when my mom passed away, and having to talk to people about it was hard, and trying to process. And I get it. Some people did try to help me, and they did give me some advice that I didn't really take, because I thought, it'll change, things will get better, and I wanted to believe things were going to be good, but it wasn't. And even so, I just want to be that person that's and when I share something, I'm afraid it's going to come back on me, because people are going to think, and especially online, people are going to think, I'm posting about them, but I'm not. And I just want to share something, and it's more so about kind of supporting someone, because when people make content, it's for support. It doesn't, and yes, some things I do share, not everything. It's really about how I was feeling. And when I was sharing the essay stuff, I was essayed in the past. I was actually essayed twice. And then having to process, did this really happen to you? Having to understand that, were you essayed again? And just having that thought process of did you want it? Did this, and, just struggling with, how to go about things. And the thing is you guys don't know how serious the situations that I'm going through are. And it would have made things worse. And I get it. Some people might be mad at my decision, but I'm more so afraid. It's just things I can't even talk about. And it's not I'm trying to be tough, but for me, it's hard. At night, I'll just think about something and I'll just start crying. And when you walk around and it has nothing, everyone acts happy, everyone acts and it's how can, and they don't know what I'm going through, but sometimes I feel how are people laughing and joking? I'm struggling. I'm trying to process. I'm trying to heal. I'm trying to deal with everything and trying to manage. And it's not about whether someone's watching or not. I would hope not. I don't know what someone is going through either, but for me, my thought process with my major depression, it was not good because I'm unmedicated. So for me, it's how could these people laugh? How, the world was turning, if that made sense. the world continues to turn. Everyone lives their life, but I'm the one that's struggling. And I know everyone's going through something. I'm not saying no one goes through anything, but I didn't know how to handle my emotions, and I just cried to myself. And all day today, I was just crying. I was just like, is this really a good thing to do? Is this the right decision to make, is to go online and talk about this? But I'm like, if I don't say anything, it's just going to continue to eat me up. My emotions are going to continue to... I had already talked about it with other people, and I was still beating myself up about it. You know? I didn't watch her tape. I didn't watch anything. Space Kitten sent it to me after I didn't even ask. Space Kitten sent it to me unsolicited, by the way, and I didn't even see her tape. She literally... Space Kitten's the one that made the statement, by the way, not me. I never victim shamed Angie. I don't know how many times I have to say that. Space Kitten had Angie's tape as her profile picture. She's the one who had that as her profile picture on Discord, which I have screenshotted proof of Space Kitten literally doing that on Discord. Space Kitten sent it to me, and I literally told Space Kitten, I do not want to see that. That is my sister-in-law. Hello, I did say that on live. I said I do not want to see that because that is my sister-in-law. And Space Kitten sent it to me. Instead of coming at me, why don't you come at Space Kitten about why she had that? And I literally even said, I don't want to see that. Don't send it to me. Just like people sent me Leslie's OF stuff, and I said, don't send that to me. I had to just outright delete it. She literally put that as her profile picture on Discord. I have screenshots of the stuff. I don't know why we keep defending people. She was the one who was literally telling me things about my brother's ex because she did something to her and she snapped. She got mad. Finally, she was sitting on all of this stuff for who knows how long and still being friends with her. And then finally comes out because they're not friends anymore, for whatever the case may be. I don't even know. I can't even remember the whole situation of what happened, but basically she snapped and decided that she was gonna spill everything about Angie because they were no longer friends. And to me, I was like thinking, why now? Like, you had all of this stuff and you were playing it off like as if I was lying, like I wasn't telling the truth. And you, like, people have to see who people really are for themselves. And I was like, you finally saw what I've been trying to tell you. Well, it's out there, so... That's not what I'm crying about, so... That's fabricated photos. You can't open 2 apps on once on iPhone. You think people was born yesterday. Yes, it is, Sonny. You literally think that people are born yesterday. People are not born yesterday. I didn't say that. I just literally explained what I said. Space Kitten said that. I didn't say that. I literally said Space Kitten said, and then I said what Space Kitten said. That never, ever did I say me. I was saying that. And I literally preferenced that Space Kitten said that. How many times do I have to say something? I shouldn't have to keep telling people. People gets tired and literally sits here and then says, oh, you keep repeating yourself. You keep repeating yourself. Well, I have to repeat myself. Nobody, because if I don't repeat myself, then people say, oh, you said it. I'm tired. Yes, because I was talking about when Space Kitten said it. Hello. That's why I said it on live. Use your common sense. I said it because I literally said Space Kitten said it. Anyone could remove where I said Space Kitten said it out of the video and then just keep that part. Duh. That's why they don't have full clips of the lives and they only have 15 seconds. Use your common sense. I could take anything I want from anyone and clip it to make it look like they said something they didn't say. There was someone that literally made a video making it seem like they defended James Charles to see if people would watch to the end. And I'm pretty sure people didn't watch to the end. And that's basically what people do. They like to run with things. I don't care what people think about my situation. I don't care what people think about what I'm going through. I know what I'm experiencing. I know what I'm going through. I know what I have to deal with, the trauma that I have to face every single day, because there is always something that I have to deal with or go through, because I can't process the last thing, because there's always something. And I always feel like I'm destined, that I always have to be like, well, you know, something's going to happen. And that's my thought process. That's my thought process. In the back of my mind, there's like that glimmer of happiness. And I'm like, oh, it's going to be ripped away. People are not paying to get me a house because I'm not making another GoFundMe. I didn't want people to pay to get me a house. I wanted people to help me get a safe space because I didn't have one. And I also wanted people to help bury my brother because I'm having a difficult time. But you know, since nobody really cares, then why does it bother you that much? You could just block me if you don't like what I'm doing. If I'm asking for something and I'm saying, hey, I need money for a house or this and that, then I don't understand why people have such a big issue with it if I was using the money for something else. You try to lie and say I scammed people, which I didn't. My brother didn't get buried. Anytime I go through something, I just can't talk about it because, people loves to talk down on that, and it's so crazy. And who cares about my birthday? I have money for my birthday. Not a lot of money, but I do because of some things that I did. And I earned money. But to be honest, me talking about being sexually assaulted has nothing to do with money. Like, what does that got to do with money? Why does it every time something happens to me, you always resort to it being about money? My birthday is coming up. But did I put a PayPal link up? Yes, it's in my Beacons link. But did I put it up while I was sharing my essay story? No. I came on here because it was eating me. It's bothering me. I'm having a lot of health problems and I'm trying to manage it before something really happens to me and my mom doesn't have me. But it's hard because I'm really suffering and trying not to freak out. And then having to hold that inside to protect someone's image. You know, I don't go on here and talk about people that I really care about or name drop them or bash them. You know, even if they did some really horrible things to me, very horrible things to me, and I still try to hold myself with grace to be like, you know, you're doing the right thing, even though I know it is not the right thing. I don't want to have to go through constant whatever it is. It's a lot. I'm trying to get a place to live, and I can't go through something and then a whole bunch of things on top of that. Nobody understands. Nobody gets it. It's, to be honest, I just recently found out about myself, and I can't even talk about it because it's a reminder that who I am is wrong and that I'm going to hell for that. And I get told this constantly. And, I do want to be proud. I do want to be open. But it's just not right in the situations that I'm in. And so I just stay quiet about it. And I'm like, oh, just once you get your place, you'll be okay. But I don't know. I'm just going to slip back into my old self and just sleep all day because that's all I know. I just tell myself, one day you'll sleep forever and you won't have to worry anymore. And it's hard. My major depression doesn't help that. And I know everyone's going through something, but the reason why I say my major depression is because of those thoughts. Major depression is not one of those things that you're like, oh, just think happy and you'll be happy. That's just not how it is. When I walk out the doors, I'm reminded, I'm trying to process and deal with as much as I can, but, I wake up and it's just something. And then even being open enough to say something, I worry, like, what am I going to wake up to? Like, it's scary. It's not even, it took a lot. It was a lot weighing on me for, like, weeks. It's already been, like, 3 weeks, and I still had the process. I'm trying. When someone says work for it, I'm not sitting here asking for money or saying handouts. Yes, I did make a GoFundMe to ask people to help me to get a house. Is it up? No, it got falsely reported. Like, at this point, forget the GoFundMe, forget everything. Like, I cannot go to work and function when I'm having to deal with the trauma of something that just happened to me. And then I had to go to work and act like I'm okay because someone says, you know what? I'm a great functioning depressed person. Like, I have major depression and PTSD, and I function just fine at work. So I'm supposed to act happy at work, but if something happens, and I'm not going to snap at anyone or be rude, I break down or cry or I have a mental breakdown or something happens, I can't. And I have to hold it in until I leave work. That is also not good. I'm a unmedicated, functioning, major depressed person, and I know there's people that have that. But when people compares themselves to me and says that they can work and they can function, I'm like, good for you. And then it makes me feel even worse because it's like I can't even function. I cry and people think I'm too emotional, so then I can't cry. I gotta hold everything in and not say, even though I do want to speak up and say something. Like, I'm a very opinionated person. I defend myself a lot. I speak up and defend myself, and, I don't want to have to deal with the side effects. There's a lot of things. And, yeah. Right now, I'm just, I already get therapy. Why are you suggesting therapy when I said I talked to my therapist already? Even talking to my therapist, because I couldn't talk to my therapist. It was 2 weeks I hadn't been able to see my therapist. I finally talked to them where I briefly mentioned it. But to be honest, I didn't want to talk about the situation because every time I talk about the situation, I hurt. And then I dwell on it. And then it knocks me down for a couple of days. And I have to get up and function because I can't be depressed for a couple of days, sleeping all day. Nobody knows what someone is going through. And then when people ask me what's wrong, when people are genuinely asking me are you okay? And I can't say anything because then people go on the internet, and I don't name drop people, by the way, but then people will run to the internet with messages and say, look, this is what she told me. And it's having a hard time trusting anybody. My trust is broken. I can't trust anyone anymore. They tell you things, they lie to your face, they try to befriend you. When someone says, oh, I live in Albuquerque, I want to be your friend, and I'm just the kind person, and be like, I'm just nice, but I'm not trying, I don't want to be friends with anyone. I don't trust anybody anymore. I can't even, when people says, well, you, and they're all like, well, you get what you deserve, even though I'm just trying to function. I'm trying to be a normal person, but when people keeps doing things like harassing me and all this stuff, and then saying, oh, well, maybe you should get offline. But people in real life that was people I really cared about being shitty in multiple situations. And it wasn't even just online stuff. It's just like, how do you deal with that? And even me being kind when I shouldn't have been. And, people being like, you should be rude. I can't be that person. I just can't. Well, it's out there, so I can't take this back. And to be honest with you, I can't really share everything I'm not comfortable with. And maybe eventually in time, I'll be able to share everything. But no one knows, and I understand everyone struggles. But when you're having things thrown at you, it's like being in a game of dodgeball and like all these balls are flying at you and you can't dodge any of them and you're getting hit by every single one. And you don't have time to process, and you're still on the floor, and all these balls are hitting you. That's just what it is. I tried to process the death of my brother, and then when something happens to me, I was like, oh, I wish he was here, because I wouldn't be getting hurt, If he was here, this wouldn't be happening. I'm trying to process, I'm trying to manage, I'm trying to work on getting my mom a place and trying to survive because I'm all she has, and if something happens, and I'm trying to be open and honest with my mom, but I don't want to, I'm like, oh, here we go again, here's this situation, and here's how I'm feeling, I can't move anywhere. My mom doesn't want to move anywhere. She won't leave Albuquerque, and the only way I could move somewhere and really have a change in place is if I move. And that would have to be when my mom is not here anymore, when I don't have that responsibility. As of right now, I can't just leave my mom. My mom doesn't want to go anywhere. Or else I would have left a long time ago. I know I gotta live for myself, but my mom is already depressed that we're separated. And, I could do all the things of getting her a place and keeping it paid up. And I know I gotta live for myself, but I cannot just separate myself from my mom. I'm having a difficult time, and that would literally cause serious health problems. I cannot just abandon my mom when she needs me, she's already struggling enough as it is that we're not together. And my birthday's coming up, and I know that's probably going to affect her because she can't be with me for my birthday. I'm just trying to manage everything, and it's just like my brain is just telling me, my brain just says, my thought process is just like, it's better to just go away forever. I don't know, like, I'm not, everyone says you're strong, you made it this far, and I'm trying to believe that I'm strong and that I made it this far, because there were a lot of things that, they're like, you're strong for everything you went through, but, I'm trying to be strong, but then if I give up, people are going to say that I was selfish, and I'm not going to harm myself, but I had that longing because I went to the hospital and I did tell them, they were like, you have the longing of wanting to be with your brother. Yeah. I cried to someone and I said, I really wish God would have took me. Like, please take me. I can't deal with hurt. I'm constantly being hurt and no one cares. Like, everything I went through, and even despite what someone goes through, I would not hurt them like that. So, yeah. Well, you know what I mean. I do have to say stuff like that because I don't need people assuming that I'm trying to harm myself and then I end up in a mental institution. But that's what how my brain feels. That's what my brain tells me. You can have thoughts like that and not act on them. Hello, that's not called baiting. Use your common sense. People do that all the time. I'm not baiting. I'm just saying that's what my brain feels. That's what my brain is telling me. I have major depression. I can't just turn that off. You don't suddenly miraculously heal and feel like you have a purpose in life. I'm trying to figure things out for myself, and it's hard. And when people bash at you, it is really hard, especially saying like, oh, well then stop saying stuff like that. People can have those thoughts and not act on them. Like, I've had dreams. I wake up. Sometimes I keep myself up till 1 a.m. because I'm trying to process everything. My brain I'm carrying guilt. I am carrying a lot of guilt because in certain situations, I told myself, well, maybe I should have not said anything at all. Maybe I should have done this. Maybe the outcome would have been different, but it would have never been different, There are so many things that I carry. I carry this guilt, and I'm trying to forgive myself, but then I'm like, if they can't forgive me, then I can't forgive myself. And just knowing that if someone passes away and they're angry with me, I couldn't live with myself. And I try to process, and I try to heal from that, and it hurts because, my depression gets to me when things like this happen. So, and I have been talking to people, but it's like, are you okay? And I tell them, yeah, I'm doing good, even though I'm really not doing good. I'm hurting, and I don't want to tell them, oh, I'm hurting every day. They don't need to be hearing that. So I'm like, oh, I'm good. I'm good. I gotta lie to people. I'm good. Even though that's not true. Just because my dad just because my dad has mental illness does not mean I don't care about him anymore. My thing, to be honest with you, and I know I have my dad, I don't have my dad. Let's be honest. He's in the street. He's on substances. His mental illness is bad. He doesn't want to get the help. They said he has to help himself. We've tried. Me and my mom have tried to help him with his medication, whether despite people say, and you're only bringing it up so people could say that I lowered his dosage. You don't care about someone with mental illness. You don't know what I've struggled with since I was a baby. You don't know the things that my mom did, because if it wasn't for my mom, he would have not been diagnosed with bipolar. He would have been undiagnosed, and he would have never knew what was wrong with him. When his mom sat there and said he didn't have bipolar when he did, and that she believed he was faking it, my mom stood behind him and made sure that he was well. There's only so much I can do. I have to take care of myself and self-care and take care of my mental, because right now, if I get sick and end up in the hospital, my mom is not going to have anyone. I'm trying to calm myself down. I can't take on all these problems. I've tried. We went out there when my brother was alive. We were driving around trying to find him. We got pulled over, and the car obviously is not registered. He did let us go, thankfully, but we had to go back to our parking spot and sleep. But my brother was like, wow, that cuts that short. We went driving to look for him, because I showed him a video where someone took a picture of him, or took a video of him dancing, and he said, I know where that's at. And we went there and he wasn't there. And, you know, we tried to make an effort to find him so we could at least get him help. But, you know, we got pulled over and we couldn't risk the car getting towed. That's why I paid for car insurance, excuse me. I paid for the car insurance because at least that prevented the car from being towed. My brother was door dashing to try to fix the part in the car so he can register the car, but it was difficult. And I did help put towards a part, but then it was the wrong part, and then he needed the money for gas, and then we were back in the issue again. My money that I was making online was going towards gas for the car, to fix the car when it needed to be fixed. I was literally helping out, so our money was going into the car. And to be honest with you, we drove around. We tried. Whenever we would dash, like, there was a guy, I kid you not, like, we were parked somewheres, and I got excited because I thought it was my dad, and that I was like, we finally found him, but it wasn't. And it was just some homeless guy that was sleeping on the concrete. And then just being so down. Like, I'm not superwoman. I'm not a superhero. I can't take on all these tasks and try to save everyone. I just can't do it. And I've tried for so long. And, you know, no one knows how hard it is to keep someone on their medication that doesn't want to be on their medication, especially when it comes to someone that has bipolar schizophrenia. That is the worst. That is the worst kind of bipolar anyone can have. It is very hard to deal with someone like that. And I tried to manage. I tried everything I could. Like, and it's so hard because people expect me to have 8 arms like I'm an octopus and I'm supposed to do all of this. And it's not that I cut out my dad completely. At this point, there's nothing more I could do. They already said with housing that they are only going to help me and my mom get a place. We literally get a place with him, and we bring him back into a place. We're just going to get evicted, and I'm not going to go through that cycle again. There's only so much you can do for someone before they have to do it for themselves, and sometimes I can't take on and hold that guilt of, like, you know, maybe I should be doing more. I've done all I can. We've contacted the VA. We've literally done everything we could. it's just too much. I can't I can't do any more than what I can. I'm already trying to hold my mental together. I'm already trying to keep myself sane and not freak out. But now look, I do not feel good at all. I've been crying all day. I've been processing why someone would do this to me. Someone that really claimed they cared about me do this. Like, why are people just... Why? Like, why me? You know? I'm just... You know... And maybe I told myself, maybe I'll never have that happiness. That maybe I'm just better off dead. And that's what my brain tells myself. And I would not harm myself. And this is not S-baiting. This is just how my brain is with depression. I try to drown myself, because, yes, I know Bob Saget is a horrible person. But I've been watching Full House because that's like my comfort show. I'm trying to go back and watch things that make me feel nostalgic. Like I watched the Rugrats movie. And I'm just trying, to comfort myself. But it's not working. And I have a void. And it's not getting filled. I wanted to go out and enjoy my birthday and say, hey, like, does someone want to go on a date? Not like a date like that, but, like, go out and enjoy myself and have a good time and feel like, but then I get knocked back because it's just like, it sucks, like, and I'm pushing myself to go out and enjoy my birthday, even though I tell myself I don't deserve to enjoy my birthday. My mom's not with me. I would like her to be with me for my birthday, but it's hard. It's not money. It's not saying things because of money. I'm hurting. I have to process that I was assaulted sexually. How do I deal with that? It's like, it happens to me. And this is like, it's like the third time. And then... it sucks. No one knows just what I had to deal with because I feel worthless. I feel unworthy. I feel unloved. I feel like I let things happen because I was just holding on to the fact that in my brain I was telling myself that I would never find anyone who cared that much. Even though it may have not been true. That I have the internet, that says, oh, you don't know what you're experiencing. You don't know. You're lying. Like, things aren't happening. You'll never find anyone. And that just weighed on because how do I explain everything without explaining everything? Because I was not ready to share something. I'm trying to process. And, I just hung on to things and I allowed things to happen because I was being blinded by what I was being told. And I have a tendency just to... I'm an idiot for believing that stuff. For believing what a lot of people said. Because in that moment, you feel loved. You feel like you mattered. And I was just... blinded. You know, when someone says something to me like online, right? And I'm not here to, and I don't want to come online and bash Miguel, but when people say things like, oh, I love you, or I care about you, because of things that have happened to me, it's hard for me to even trust anyone, especially when I don't feel that way about someone. And then I feel bad, like, oh, maybe I should, because, you know, and I shouldn't accept, and it's not accepting, I shouldn't just, you know, settle because I'm like, oh, I'll never find someone, so maybe I'm missing out on my chance, because if I don't take this, then I ain't gonna have nobody. And that's what my brain tells me, is I'm gonna die alone. And, you know, me expressing my feelings, it hurts when, you know, on the other end of that, there's someone who has their back turned, who doesn't care, who is cold-hearted, who could care less if you're crying, if you're hurting, if you're struggling, if you have to pick up the pieces of the damage that they did to you. And it's the amount of people that lied recently to my face. You looked me in my face and you lied to me. And I believed you. It's hard to trust people when they look you in the face and they lie to you. And I've been truthful. I've been honest to every person. And I've been nice and kind. And then to have people look me in the face and lie directly to my face. And I had to compose myself to be like, walk with my head held high. It's so hard to even trust anyone when I get lied to. It's crazy. Yeah, my heart is empty. I do have a hole in my heart. It is hurting. I did say that 2 days ago because I am hurting. And I can't even talk about being hurt, because if I talk about it, then it becomes this whole thing that gets turned into drama when I was not trying to cause drama. It's all right for other people to be hurt, but it's okay for me to not, but it's not okay for me to talk about me being hurt. I can't even talk about hurting because then I get attacked for even talking about it. That's crazy to me that I have to literally sit here and act as if I'm not hurting, and then, well, you know, life goes on. And I could care less. I don't care if people feel sorry for me, sympathy. This was not any of that. I'm so sick and tired of when I turn around, I see someone living their life as if I'm not screwed up in the head. Like if I'm not messed up in the head, you know? And this is several situations of people literally, like they didn't mess with me mentally. Like they didn't mess with me physically. And then, you know, having to process the essay and then having to deal with that, you know? And then lying to someone's face. And then finding out they lied about other stuff. And then trying to think, well, did this they were telling me about this situation, did they lie about that? And I'm an understanding person. But you don't have to make up stories around me. You don't have to make yourself seem more interesting than you are because I was this social media influencer. That's all I got seen as. Nobody saw me as equal. Whether they say they see people as equal or not, I was not seen as that. I was seen as a social media influencer. And how do you explain to someone like, hey, I really don't like this? You know, I really don't like some of the things that was happening. Oh, this is Tophiachu, the TikTok star. Whenever, you know, we would be in the presence of people, hey, this is Tophiachu, the TikTok star, and I couldn't just, I had to be like, hi, it's me. Because I didn't want to seem rude. Because at the time, I felt like if I said anything, you know, people snap and they get mad. And then they attack me, and then they come at me, and then, you know, it becomes this whole thing, and we're in an argument. And I'm not the one that's arguing. I'm just trying to fix the situation, but then I make it worse. Like, I couldn't even express my feelings. Because if I mentioned how I was feeling, oh, it's not about how you feel, it's about how I feel. It's me, 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 me. It's about me. It's not about you. So I just had to hold it in and keep it to myself. I knew that wasn't going to be good. I knew that. But I couldn't express my feelings, and I'm not really good at expressing my boundaries either, because sometimes I let people overstep those boundaries because I didn't want to hurt their feelings. I couldn't say something bothered me, and I did mention, I was like, oh, if I say something, then I know that you're going to snap. And then, this, and this. Like, I had to be honest. But I was holding a lot of things in. Because I couldn't be completely honest. And I wasn't lying, but I couldn't be completely honest and say things that I really wanted to say, because I know, like, oh, I don't want to say something wrong and hurt this person, or I don't want to say something, and make this person uncomfortable. And I was around certain people, I just didn't want to say things because, I already felt like it was becoming too much. Like, yeah, I did talk to someone about my problems, but then I felt like, oh, I'm always coming to them with this problem, and they're probably looking at me like, you're stupid. Then just leave it. Then just leave the whole friendship. Just leave that. Just leave the situation. Like, and it was hard. I couldn't just leave the situation. I couldn't just walk away. It was so hard to do that because I was being blinded. And then I didn't want them to, which I know they wouldn't have, but for me, I always think like, oh, they're going to judge me and be like, oh, you're so stupid. Why did you go back? You're so stupid. And it wasn't even a relationship of dating. It's just like, you're so stupid. Why did you go back to that friendship? You already knew it was going to happen in the first place, and you went back like an idiot. And I tried to see the good in everyone. Like, I tried to tell myself, no, people just don't understand. Someone's just being misunderstood. It's just like when people literally steps outside of the whole TikTok stuff and tries to understand me. And I'm like, well, I have people that cares about me. I have people that ask me if I'm okay because, they're the people that are like, you're just misunderstood. And I wanted to be that person like, well, you don't know this person. They're just a misunderstood person. You don't know what this person is suffering or what they're going through in silence. They're just a misunderstood person. From your perspective and what you're seeing from the outside is not really what it is. When I did explain things, yes, I was having problems, but I was like, you just don't know. It's like for you, from an outsider looking in, yeah, it's just easy for someone to say, walk away. For me, it wasn't easy. I'm like, this person is misunderstood. I just gotta fix this problem. I just gotta fix their problems. I just gotta help them. I just gotta, handle the situation, even though it wasn't my situations to handle, because then I want to be that person that someone could be like, hey, there are good people in the world. They didn't leave me. They didn't desert me. They didn't abandon me when I was at my lowest. Even though truly, truly, truly in my heart, they probably would have abandoned me at my lowest. It just sucks. Like, you go above and beyond for people that probably wouldn't go above and beyond for you. And I'm not saying it, but it's difficult. It wasn't just easy to like be like, oh, I could walk away. And I struggled so hard to manage and try to see the good in people, even though I was constantly getting hurt, even though my mental health was breaking, even though I was just, it was like I was being like a used rag. And I try to tell myself, oh, because I don't want to go to the negative thoughts and think the worst. That, oh, they were just using me just to make themselves feel good in that moment because they had nobody. They only come back to me when they want to feel good. When they have nobody and they need someone in that moment to make them feel that void or whatever it was. And to people, especially online, and like the whole situations that I was going in with and that I was dealing with in real life, they treat it like it's a game. And I'm like, I'm not trying to be all flashy and show off and be that person that's like, oh my god, I have, even if some of these are like trolls, literally being like, someone made a statement like, oh my god, you have all these girls all after you. Okay, like, that's not something that I would be flexing or bragging about. For me personally, it's not about flaunting or being like, I have this person, I got this person, na na na. Like, I'm not trying to play a game with anyone. I could care less if I have someone. It's not about flashing someone, flaunting someone, or proving something. I don't know what people try to prove. You hurt someone in, like, when people hurt someone in the process and leave this path of destruction, they could care less. It's a game to them, and it's just like, what are you trying to prove? That you could hurt someone and mess with them and not have some sort of conversation? Like, I get it, but like, I'm not one of those people. I'm not gonna say, you know what, I'm better than you because I have a better partner, a better person, a better. No, like, I'm not out here trying to do all of that. I just want to go out and have fun, and my birthday is on Saturday, and it's not about the money. I just want to be able to function without being reminded, oh, now I'm traumatized and triggered. Oh, you wanted that. Oh, there were certain things that you allowed. You're an idiot. You're stupid. I dwell on these things and I beat myself up and I'm having a hard time forgiving myself. And I gotta process. And that's what I'm telling myself. And having to function through situations and not be so emotional because, oh, here she comes again. She's crying on live, you know. That's just what I was dealing with. I don't know if the chat froze or not. I've been having constant headaches. I've talked with the doctors and they literally said it was because of my stress. So I'm trying to manage my health. I'm trying to manage all of that, like I said, Yeah. No, I don't mind. But yeah. Is that like frozen? Like, hello? Is it frozen? and having to process that. So, yeah, I don't know how else, and like people are like, we'll report it to the police, then it would be a worse situation. So, I don't want to do that. I've already had a hard time processing it myself. Like, I have a headache. Yes, I was sexually assaulted. Like, I've been crying all day. I don't know what it was today. Like, I was doing fine, and then I started crying. And then I couldn't stop crying. I would wipe my tears, and then I would just cry again. And then, yeah, I don't know how to process. I talked to my mom. That was really hard to talk to my mom because I wasn't really being truthful. I told her, like, oh, nothing happened, you know, but I didn't want her to worry because, it's hard because her mind goes to, like, oh, you're going to harm yourself, like, and I'm not going to have nobody. And I'm trying to be strong for my mom because we're all that we have. And I'm trying to process situations that happened for 3 weeks. And, I'm trying to not slip back, but I have this major depression and I've been trying to process and I'm trying not to have dark thoughts and I would not harm myself, but that doesn't go away. And just, it was one thing after another and it was too much to handle. And I'm trying to handle it. So, my birthday is literally on Saturday. And I really want to go out and enjoy myself because I had some plans of what I wanted to do. I have a cake that is I made my own cake for my birthday because I'm going to try to decorate it. And it's like a special made cake, but it doesn't have decorations because I wanted to decorate it myself. But, no, that has nothing to do with that. So, yeah. Yeah, you're just going to get blocked. I don't have the GoFundMe. It was under review and I don't want to make another one. Yes, I have talked to my therapist about it. Money for a cake, but not for storage. I'm not even gonna explain anything to you. I don't have any money for a cake or for storage. But I have people that are nice enough because it's my birthday. I don't need to explain anything to you. And no one online gave me money. I do know I need to go to the police, but it'll make the situation worse, so I'm not going to go to the police. I already have a hard time as it is dealing with other things, and I know, but to be honest, I don't know. It's a very dangerous, serious situation that I can't even talk about. Like when you're saying, oh, like it's your birthday and the last thing should be about cake, I was not thinking about cake. Again, I said that I'm trying to enjoy my birthday, so I'm not down and depressed. I was not thinking about cake. I was not even thinking about what to do for my birthday because I didn't even want to celebrate my birthday. But why am I going to let people ruin my birthday? Why am I going to let someone make me so upset to the point where I don't celebrate my birthday? Like, why? I'm not going to let people ruin while they're running around acting happy. I don't know if they are happy or not. Like, when you guys do something and you hurt someone, truly, really hurt someone, and then you're running around like everything's okay, I'm not going to let someone bring me down. I'm trying to enjoy my birthday. I'm only 32 once. Yes, I shouldn't celebrate my birthday. I should be 6 feet under. That's how I feel. But I'm not going to harm myself. But again, I'm trying to change my negative thinking to a positive thinking. I'm trying to survive the best that I can. And when people say, oh, you're just baiting people, that's how my brain works. I'm not baiting people. That's just how I feel. I should have a right to enjoy my birthday and enjoy myself. I'm so sick and tired of people telling me that I'm not supposed to have feelings. I'm not supposed to be hurt. I'm supposed to hold everything in. I'm supposed to be strong. I'm supposed to, I, if something more horrific happened to me again, like if something else, I'm supposed to just accept that and say, well, you deserve it. That's how people are, and I shouldn't have to accept or deserve anything like that. Oh, well, you got SA'd, like, accept it. That's how people act and make me feel. The 20% battery came up, and my phone is gonna die, so I have to get off live, and I have a headache, and I just need to get ready for bed. Well, people said that I wasn't SA'd, and then people are probably saying that I deserve it, and whatever the case may be. And I'm not saying that I need to accept that. I'm saying that's just how people makes me feel. And I did. I talked to my therapist, but I've talked to a lot of people, and I'm still just struggling. So I don't know how to. I'm trying to work so hard at managing my emotions, but it's not working, and I'm crying. I'm not going to report it because it'll get worse. I already said there's reasons why. Like, and besides, it's not, you don't want me to report it because it happened. You want me to report it because you're saying if I don't report it, then it's not true. Like, can we stop with that narrative of people? There's a plethora of reasons why people don't report something. Please. I can't explain it. The whole situation is a very dangerous situation. And to be honest with you, I have been put in danger and I can't even talk about it. Like, that's why I can't say certain things because online I'm not trying to escalate the situation to make it worse. That's why I kind of have, not said things about the whole situation. I can't even tell you half of the stuff that was said. It was, especially online with people making threats, that's, yeah, online people making threats too. That, it's a whole thing. On top of personal issues, on top of online issues, like it, and this was stuff that, and a lot of this stuff was stuff that happened offline. And the thing that sucks, like people were like, "We'll get offline," but even I was offline, and that happened, and I still would have been affected. But anyways, I'm gonna go. Have a good day or night where you guys are. We'll see you guys later. I have a headache, and I think I'm gonna try to take some medicine. And I'm trying to calm down, but I'm freaking out because yeah, it's out there, and now I'm worried of what's next to come. You know, I just I don't know. Anyways, I'm gonna try to focus. Anyways, have a good day or night where you guys are, and I will see you guys later. I didn't lie about this. I've never lied. It's happened to me twice. This is the third time. Why would I lie about something like that? That is not funny. That is not anything to lie about or joke about. You can't sit here and tell someone they're lying. That is literally victim shaming. This is why people don't come out. And then you say they're lying. What proof do you want? You know what's weird? Is that, do you want to see someone getting SA'd? Is that what you're trying to say? Does someone have to show you a video of them getting SA'd for you to prove it? That is weird. That's what it seems like. Anyways, I'm leaving. Have a good day or night where you guys are. I will see you guys later. Bye, guys. Stay safe. Bye.